Hi, today we're going to talk about capacity. So, anytime we're talking about the capacity, you have to know that capacity means how much fluid something can hold. Okay, so a lot of times people say, okay, well, volume is how much something can hold. Yes, but anytime you're talking about capacity, we're specifically talking about fluids like water and juice, soda, anything that's of liquid form. So, I have given you a table here that has the volumes with their corresponding capacities. So anytime we talk about capacities, we talk about them in terms of liters, whether it is milliliters, regular liters, or kiloliters. All right. So we see here that if we have something that has a volume of 1 centimeter cubed, that is equivalent to 1 milliliter. So these are exactly the same. If you have something that has a volume of 1,000 centimeters cubed, that is equivalent to just 1 liter. So each liter is worth 1,000 cubic centimeters. If we have 1 cubic meter or 1 meter cubed, that is equivalent to 1 kiloliter. Okay. And if you have 1 meter cubed or 1 cubic meter, that is equivalent to 1,000 liters. So example one, it says, find the volume of a liquid which will fit into a container with a certain capacity. So for this first one, we have 750 milliliters. So if I look at my chart here and I look at milliliters, I know that my volume is going to be the exact same, except it's going to be centimeters cubed. So I know that this will be 750 centimeters cubed. For part B, I have 6,390 liters. So if I have something in liters, I can either convert them to centimeters cubed or I can convert them to meters cubed. It does not matter. So I'm going to do the first one. So if I do the first one at liters, then I know that if I go from liters to cubic centimeters, to go from liters to go from the right to the left, I'm multiplying by 1,000. So all I would have to do here is I would take 6,300, 6,390, and I would multiply it by 1,000, and then that would tell me what my liters are. So that means that I will end up with 6,390,000 centimeters cubed. Or I could convert this to meters cubed because we have, if we go from 1,000 liters, that'll give us 1 cubic meter. So in order to go from liters to cubic meters, you're dividing by 1,000 because 1,000 divided by 1,000 is equal to 1. So if I wanted to do it that way, I would take 6,390 and I would divide it by 1,000 to end up finding my meters cubed. So that will end up giving me 6.390. You don't even really need the zero. And if, like I said, if you need to, put it in the calculator. 6,390 divided by 1,000. And that's where we get 6.39. And we know that that will be in meters cubed. So either or would be correct. All right. So number two, it says, find the capacity of a tank with the following dimensions. So in order to find the capacity, we need to find the volume. So I'm going to find the volume of the tank. That is length times width times height. So my volume is going to be 3.64 times 4.7 times 2.89. And when we do that, we have approximately 49.4. So I'm around the 3 sig fig. So this is approximately 49.4 centimeters cubed. So that is my volume. So now that I have my volume of in centimeters cubed, I can go from the right to the left. So if I'm starting with centimeters cubed and I'm going to find the capacity, then that means I'm going from volume to capacity, which means that I would actually be able to say that this is equivalent to 49.4 milliliters because they are equivalent. Or if I wanted to put it in liters, I could just do the math in liters. So if I were to put it in liters, let me find another color. If I have centimeters, I can convert them to liters. So to get from centimeters to liters, you're dividing by 1,000 because once again, 1,000 divided by 1,000 is 1. So if I wanted to, I could just take my cubic centimeters and divide it by 1,000, and that will end up giving me my answer in liters. So I would have 49.4 divided by 1,000. That is going to give me 0.0494, and that's going to give me in regular liters. All right, so next let's talk about some more in-depth problems. So example 3, it says here that you have 27.4 centimeters of water. It is going to be poured into some kind of pan, and the pan is going to be 8 meters long and 14.5 meters wide. All of the water goes into a cylindrical container. So you have a cylinder container with a diameter of 3 meters. By how many centimeters does the water level in the container rise? So basically, we're trying to figure out what happens when we take the water that is poured into that pan, and then that pan is going to be released into a cylinder. How much is it going to make the water go up by? Basically, what is the volume of that amount of water inside of the cylinder? So the first thing that we need to do is we need to focus on the pan. All right. So when we focus on the pan here, what we are trying to find is we're trying to basically we're going to convert our centimeters to meters. Okay. So you should know that there are 100 centimeters in every meter. And if you wanted to, you could do that with a quick Google search. Okay, so centimeters to meters, it's 100. It's 100 centimeters in every meter. So make sure you write that down. 100 centimeters. 100 centimeters for every meter. Correct. So if we know that, then in order to convert the centimeters to meters, I am going to have to divide by 100 because in order to go from centimeters to meters, 100 divided by 100 is 1. So I would have to divide by 100. So what I would do here is I would take 27.4 and I would divide it by 100, and that will end up giving me 0.274, and that's going to give me that in meters here. Okay, so now that we have converted our centimeters to meters, now all we need to do is we need to find the volume of the water. Okay, so we said that the water is going to be poured into a pan which is 8 meters long and 14.5 inches wide, and we know that The amount of water that is going to be poured into there is the amount of water or the depth of water. Okay, so once we do that, we're going to have the volume of the water that is in the pan. So the volume is going to be equal to 8 times 14.5 times 0.274. Okay, so that tells me that my volume is going to be approximately, and since this decimal came out very, very pretty and it truncated or cut itself off, we can actually use the equal sign and say that our volume is actually equal to 31.784. And of course, that's going to be meters cubed. All right, so that is the volume for the water inside of that pan. So now it says that all of that water is going to go into a cylinder container. And the cylinder container is going to have a diameter of 3 meters. So now that we're talking about the cylinder container, you need to understand that the information about the containers, that we know the diameter is equal to 3 meters, which means that the radius is going to be equal to 1.5 meters. So now you need to also understand that if we were to find the volume of the container, if we set it equal to the volume of the water, that should tell us how much the water level is going to rise, aka the height. So if we were to do that, we would end up having, we already know that the volume of that we need to be equal to is going to be equal to 31.784, and that should be equal to the volume of the cylinder, which is going to be equal to the area of the circle, which is pi times r squared, so that's pi times 1.5 squared, times the height. We don't know what the height of that cylinder is. The height is what we're trying to figure out. That's going to be the water levels, how much the water level rises. So now when I do that, I just have to divide both sides by pi and then 1.5 squared. So I'm going to type it into the calculator, 31.784 divided by pi times 1.5 squared. And I end up getting that the height or the water level has been risen by approximately 4.5 meters. And then remember, it asked by how many centimeters does the water level in the container rise. So if I know if it rises by 4.5 meters, remember there are 100 centimeters in every meter. So if I want to go from meters to centimeters, I have to multiply by 100. So that is going to be 4.5 times 100. And 4.5 times 100 is 450. So that is the water level rose by approximately 400 centimeters. All right. So if you have any questions, please ask your teacher or ask me if I'm your teacher, and have a great day. Bye-bye.